Hello, everyone, and welcome to Focus Ed, where we invite expert guests to join us. And we are thrilled to have Principal Kafele on the show with us. Welcome, Principal Kafele.
Yes, sir. Good to be here.
Today, we're totally focused on instructional leadership and vision for supporting teachers in the classroom. And we couldn't think of a better person, someone we believe has become our friend as well, to really speak to our new leaders, and that is Principal Kafele. TJ, why don't you tell our audience a bit more?
Thanks, Joe. And all of this will be linked in the show notes, including a full bio for our guest today. I'm actually not sure that Principal Kafele needs an introduction with the audience we have here, but I'll say a few things that they might not know. He's one of the most sought after award-winning, and we can't even name all the awards, school leadership and climate culture presenter in America. Principal Kafele has delivered over 3,000 conference and program keynotes, professional development workshops, presenting seminars, and student assemblies. An expert in the area of attitude transformation, Principal Kafele is the leading authority for providing effective classroom and school leadership strategies toward closing what he coined as the attitude gap. In addition to writing several professional articles in popular educational journals, he's authored 14 books, including his 7 ASCD bestsellers, and the one we're going to be discussing today, which is called What is My Value Instructionally to the Teachers I Supervise. Principal Kafele is also the creator and host of the popular AP and New Principals Academy, streamed live every Saturday morning on his AP and New Principals Academy YouTube channel at 10:55 Eastern Time. He's been recognized as one of the world's top 30 education professionals by Global Guru's Top 30 for 6 consecutive years, including this year, 2025. And that show that you do on YouTube, I think you were telling me that you haven't missed a Saturday for how long?
281 consecutive Saturdays. So we're 282 this Saturday, and we continue to go strong.
That's
we gotta we gotta get the two of you on there too, man. We'll work that out.
That sounds good. We'd love to do that. So let's get started. We love your book, What is My Value Instructionally to the Teachers I Supervise. In fact, our sponsors bought 10 copies. We're going to give that away to the participants here who are live. But we're curious to know what inspired you to write that. I know deep down inside you always think about instructional leadership and helping teachers, but was there an inspiration for this book in particular?
Absolutely. I had written, there's another book I wrote. I've got this assistant principal series, the assistant principal 50, the assistant principal identity, the assistant principal impact, and the assistant principal legacy. So the impact was the next one on board, and I wrote it, and it's sitting on this computer. And just something popped in my head to say, hold off on that book that you spent all that time writing, and write a book on instructional leadership, because I had been talking instructional leadership forever, right? But over the past, I guess, right before the pandemic, we say that proverbially all the time, but before the pandemic, I started really going hard on instructional leadership, but I didn't have a lot of written content on it. So in May of 2024, I said to myself, don't accept any engagements. Just keep the calendar empty and spend the month of May 2024 writing that book. So I didn't accept anything. And I was so hungry, I started writing around the clock. And I wrote the book in 18 days. It's 50,000 words. And I wrote it in 18 days. And I couldn't work. So I went on vacation and sat on the balcony in Aruba, editing, just doing revisions and edits. But the inspiration was just that, particularly for the group you have there with predominantly African, they say African American, predominantly assistant principals. Got that A in my head. I said, you know something? We got all these assistant principals and principals, but let me focus on the assistant principal who are getting these positions. And a lot of them, not the ones sitting in your room, but a lot of them, They're working for principals who once upon a time ago, when they were assistant principals, they were these full-time disciplinarians, these full-time cover the cafeteria, these full-time bus duty folks, and these full-time any other thing that has nothing to do with the instruction that goes on in the classroom. So I said, that cannot go on. Something has to be done about it. So I started doing all these workshops. And then I decided, let me put it in a book because I'm not going to be able to see everybody through a workshop. That's not humanly possible. So let me put it in a book, and hence there it is. I say, without trying to get ahead of your questions, that if you're an administrator, principal, or assistant principal, and you supervise X number of teachers, just on the basis of the fact that you supervise a teacher or more, you must be an instructional leader. You must be an instructional coach. Like, it's non-negotiable. If you don't have a teacher that you supervise, then be a disciplinarian all day. Be a cafeteria supervisor all day. Load buses. Go out before the end of the day to start loading buses. Go out, be outside after the late bell for the late buses, and all that kind of stuff. But once it's determined that you have teachers that report to you, you have to be that coach. It's comparable. The analogy I always use, that coach of the football team, with football because of the season we're in. So that coach of the football team, that head coach that says to the team during that final speech in the locker room on game day, go get that win. And then as they march out, the coach says, wait a minute, I forgot to tell you something. And the coach says, come on back in, I got to tell you something. And they come in, and the coach says, if you need me throughout the course of the game, if you need me or any of the assistant coaches, simply come back in the locker room. Let us know what the concern is. We'll respond to it. And then you go back out on that field and you get it done. Well, no one in that room where you are has ever seen that before because it doesn't happen. Not in football, not in any sport, but it does happen somewhere else. It's called school, where every day is game day that a youngster walks into a building. It's game day. So in Jersey, where I'm from, we had 180 days of school. That means we got 180 days of game to play. So I'm saying the teacher is the athlete in the analogy. So now the teacher can go 178 days without being coached. Why do I say 178? Because 2 days for a tenured teacher during the fall, an administrator will go into a room and observe a lesson. And then one day in the spring, an administrator will go in a room and observe a lesson. Then we'll write an evaluation. And now see you next season, right? And now there's a youngster. And when I say youngster, I should say youngsters in the classroom who are being penalized because they have a teacher who is not coached like a football player on a field who can go 4 quarters without any coaching. We've never seen it before, even with the babies in Pop Warner, right? But we'll see it in a school. We'll see it in a classroom. And then then the achievement levels are not climbing. And then we scratch our head, man, what's wrong with our kids? Man, what's wrong with our teachers? They're not growing. Why should they be? I mean, you can go out and you can read the book, you can go to the conference, you can go to the institute, you can listen to the podcast, you can read the blog, you can read the article, you can do all those things, right? But here's the challenge with all of that. None of those writers, none of those speakers, none of those broadcasters, none of them are coming to the teacher's classroom the next day to inform them of their effectiveness implementing what was read, watched, studied, viewed, whatever. The real professional learning happens in the building during instructional time with that collegial relationship between the principal or the assistant principal and the teacher. That's where the rubber meets the road. And that was the incentive to write that book. And quite frankly, the work that I do, I don't really accept too many more invitations to speak to teachers because I want to talk to leaders all day. That's all I want to do. Give me assistant principals, give me principals so that we can have that tough conversation around instructional leadership. That's where the rubber meets the road. Everything else is secondary.
Kafele, I'm going to assume you're an Eagles fan.
No, I'm North Jersey, not
I'm,
South Jersey.
well, I'm sitting here thinking
I'm
that
Big Blue.
with that, which I think everybody agrees with, and I know I am an Eagles fan, and they got a Howie Roseman, right? And they have operations director. I know the individuals are thinking, I agree with you. But I can't suddenly step away from the operations, the management. So what can we say to our leaders, our school leaders who definitely need to be in that classroom? How do you quiet that noise? How do you arrange your day? How do you really start structuring each moment that you are an instructional leader and not neglect those
Yeah,
other priorities?
great question. And I'll say, because we got the young heads in the room today in terms of being new to the position, right? One might say the babies in the room being new to the position, right? I became a principal in 1998 and a teacher in 1988, right? So I've been in it for a minute. But here's the thing. It's cliche to say, like someone will say, don't call me a manager. I'm not a manager, I'm a leader. And I say wherever you heard that from, you better step away from it. You are a leader, but that building, that's yours too. And you manage that. You have maintenance people, you have custodians, but you are the head manager of that building and you manage people. You don't just lead them, you manage them. So here's the thing, and this is consistent with the webinar that I just did this afternoon. The blueprint. See, and fam in the background, just hear me well on this one. Um, when we were teachers, we were required to write a lesson plan. But those of us who were really committed to them babies, we didn't need the requirement. We wanted to write the lesson plan because we wanted to go in there so thorough on Monday morning that I got a plan with objectives, right? I got strategy. I'm ready to go. And I've even individualized it. It's equitable. So now I can meet the needs of each of the learners in the classroom, right? So then we become administrator. And guess what? No one requires that we bring with us to school a plan, a leadership plan. So now all that work we was spending time doing with I was writing lesson plans while I was trying to watch NFL, right? So because I was spending all day on that. That mattered to me, right? So I'm spending all this time writing these lesson plans, which I still have I have every lesson plan I've ever written in this closet right behind me, right? So I valued them things. But now I become a leader, no plan. I just walk into the building. So check this out. Let me see if I can do this virtually because I usually I do this in person. So now walk into the building and okay, I'm here. What am I going to do? Ooh, there's an incident. Let me deal with this. So now it's 8 o'clock in the morning. And now I got this incident that happened. I won't even describe what it is, just incident. And now, ooh, I gotta investigate. I gotta talk to this one and that one and this one. Now I gotta call all these parents. Blah 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 blah. Now, well, finally, we resolved it. It's 11 o'clock in the morning, 3 hours. Well, it's time for the first lunch. Let me go up there and supervise the cafeteria. And now I'm in the cafeteria. Oh, principal said I need to do 2 lunches. So now I'm in the cafeteria for 2 hours. So now, all right, we finished lunch. Duty is 1 o'clock. Whew, what am I going to do now? Oh, an incident. Whew, let me go deal with this. Oh my God, I got to talk to you and I got to talk to you. I got to talk to you. I got to call these parents. I got to call the superintendent. oh my God, oh my God. Oh, I got to talk to all these people. Some of my staff, they know a little bit of something. Got to call them. All right, well, ooh, it's 3 o'clock. Time to dismiss them. Now I'll go out and load the buses. Now watch this. Now see the people behind you, they smiling. I'm gonna tell you why. Because they say, he talking about my life. I know. I know. So here's the thing now. So now here's my day. I spent 3 hours on an incident, 2 hours in the cafeteria, 3 hours on another incident, and my day is over. Hey, somebody, not y'all, but just somebody in the world that's an AP. What went on in your classrooms today, though? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, well, how y'all raising the achievement levels? I don't know. It ain't got nothing to do with me though, right? I'm dealing with discipline. These kids bad around here, man. Do you realize what's on my plate, man? We got some bad kids that go to this school here. Come on, man. That's what I say to anybody who tell me that. Come, y'all didn't say that, but I'm just saying, come on, man. Don't come with me. Don't come to me with that. Don't tell me that this neighborhood got all these challenges and your school has to reflect that. We can't have that conversation. We could debate it, right? We can't have that conversation because there's this word. Hey, APs, I want y'all to hear me real good. If you're in a situation where you are inundated by discipline, right? Discipline is not your problem, right? I bet you it wasn't your problem when y'all were teaching, right? Because you had a handle on the culture of that classroom. So as soon as they were like near your classroom, they knew, I'm with Miss So and So. We don't play that here, right? So now the day was close to perfect, not because you was threatening them and all that kind of stuff. This big abstract called culture worked for you because you gave the culture attention. Because anything that gets attention gets a response, right? And when people are close to us and we don't give them attention, then the relationship starts going south. Like two people dating one another, and now you get used to one another, and now you don't give the attention anymore. Well, one of them like, you don't even look at me no more. You used to buy me stuff and take me out. Now you take me for granted. Well, culture does the same thing in the building. The culture say, you ain't giving me no love. You ain't giving me no flowers. You ain't giving me no candy. You ain't giving me no attention. So I'm going to wreak havoc on this entire building because you ain't giving me nothing. That's how that works, y'all. Culture said, yo, I'm here. Acknowledge me. Give me some energy. Give me some attention. Give me some love. So I gave the culture love, y'all. And guess what? I ain't got to worry about no discipline, because the culture is conducive to young people walking into the building, doing the things that we expect them to do. And youngsters who someone else wrote off, they practically your valedictorian because the environment is conducive to them exhibiting their greatness. I gave you a long answer, I know.
No, we love it. Actually, I want to stay with the theme. One thing I really like about your work, like in particular, this book the title is a question mark. Typically, when I see you, you're waving a mirror around and challenging people. Oh, I knew it was going to be right there too. You're waving a mirror around, you're challenging people, and I think these are compelling reasons. So we talk about teacher support. You've talked, and I think one reason to get into classrooms and be an instructional leader, especially for assistant principals, is we definitely need principals to be instructional leaders, and you limit your career if you don't spend time, addressing those skills. What are some of the other reasons why, and things that you tell assistant principals, new principals, that the classroom visit is where it's at? You said something about the culture of the school and decreasing discipline, but I know there's a lot of reasons, and I want the people who listen to this podcast to hear what you think are the most important reasons to make those visits beyond what we've already said.
Yeah, I love it. Fam in the room, understand it's easy for particularly new assistant principals to feel good about themselves because they got into X number of classrooms. Principal Kafele, I got into 5 classrooms today. I got into 6 or 7, whatever the number is, I got into them. But then my question to them is, was that visit, first of all, how long was the visit? Because I want to see if it was substantive. But then beyond that, more importantly, was that visit attached to a conversation? Or did you just pop up into a classroom and hoard the information? See, if you just popping up into rooms, you walk in that building, you walking in there, you showing yourself, you visible, it's cute. You can feel good. I'm visible in my classrooms. You can tell people I'm highly visible. But how is that changing the pedagogy of a teacher who's ineffective, right? Or how's it changing the pedagogy of a teacher who's marginally effective or even effective but not highly effective? See, I'm saying that with that teacher whose classroom that we visited, before I go in there, I'm not saying every time you go into a classroom, because sometimes I just want to pop in. Now, I'm gonna be very transparent. Sometimes there's certain classrooms in the building that I get peace. I get internal peace being in that room because what's happening in that room is so amazing, right? So this teacher pretty much doesn't need me, right? This teacher's amazing. So I'm having one of them days. Let me migrate into that room and just sit there. And I'll add to that. And that teacher, because that select number of teachers, they know why I'm in there. They know I'm in there because I need peace for a few minutes, and I know that I'm gonna be in a room where learning is occurring at a high level. But let's put them to the side now. So there's a teacher that has a certain deficiency with his or her pedagogy, right? Or beyond the pedagogy, right? So before I go in, let's have a conversation about that while we mutually agree on some strategy that's going to help the teacher moving forward. So the key word in this is conversation, not me going in there lecturing this teacher, not me going in there intimidating this teacher, but us having a conversation, being highly methodical and being highly formative in the relationship. There's nothing summative about this. There's nothing going into a file, right? It's us in the process of doing what that assistant coach is doing with that running back, or doing with that quarterback, or doing with that defensive back, having those ongoing discussions about this based on the film. And now, so we're having that discussion. The film for us is this, the mirror. So now let's have that discussion on the film. And now, Miss Teacher, here's here's my recommendation. What are you thinking? We have a conversation. Great. I'll be in tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Not I'm gonna pop in at some time to catch you. I'm not trying to catch you. I'm trying to grow you. So I'll be in there at this particular time to see precisely what we discussed. Will I see other things? Yes, I will. But it's not my focus. My focus is very narrow like this. So I'll see what's on the outside of this hand. I'll see what's on the outside of this hand. But that's not my focus. You and I don't have that kind of time to focus on all the dynamics of a classroom. I'm going in there to see this thing which we discuss, which may be what's impacting these other things that are happening in the classroom. And then I will meet back with that teacher as soon as immediate as I can to discuss what I saw. And then we go from there. But I'll say this to you. Here, keep this in mind, fam. When you and I, particularly with you all being new or relatively new, so teachers still trying to feel you out and all that kind of thing. The last thing that I want to do if I'm in your shoes is go into a classroom and let's say it's 9 o'clock or even 8:30 in the morning. The last thing I want to do is go into a classroom at 8:30 or 9, leave, and then have that teacher anxious about my visit for the rest of the day. Right? Imagine that teacher who's not yet comfortable with your visit because there's not yet a culture for instructional leadership in your school. See, we can't just talk instructional leadership without talking culture of instructional leadership. And I'm not even talking about school culture right now. I'm talking strictly culture of instructional leadership, where teacher has embraced this is what we do. This is who we are. So an administrator coming in, I welcome that, right? I want that because this is what we do. I know that by my assistant principal, my principal coming into the room, I know that that's beneficial for me. See, it's no longer it's a bird. Oh my God, here he comes. But until that culture is there, that teacher, you leave at 9 o'clock, you come in at 9:30, 8:30, you leave at 9:30, 9 o'clock, 9:15, whatever it is, 9:30, whatever it is. That teacher could have you at the front of his or her mind until they see you again. And see, that's what I want to avoid. So thank God for the invention of these things, cell phones, smartphones. That now, when I leave the class, even if the lesson didn't go according to plan, there was something good in there. It's got to be. There's something good in there. I got every teacher's cell phone in the phone. I got every teacher's email in the phone. I'm going to hit that teacher up before I leave that classroom to say this was good. Not the lesson was good. I'm a pinpoint what it is. That was good. Now the teacher can, okay, he's good. And now the teacher can focus on children and not focus on Kafele, right? So I would do that every class I go to. I would send them a note because I know they're going to check it soon, right? And then and then I can go on with my day. They can go on with their day, and then I've already told the teacher when I plan to meet with him or her, and we can discuss it further, right? But again, it's all methodical, y'all. But when we put distance, and I'm not talking, and I don't know, I can't recall if equity is the boogeyman in Delaware or not. It's a boogeyman in so many places. But I'll say this: we typically we use that language when we talk about relationship between teacher and student, but I say that language is also applicable when we talk about relationship between administrator and teacher, right? I'm not going to treat all my teachers the same as it relates to everything I just said. I'd have my veteran superstars looking at me sideways and maybe looking for another job, right? They don't need me like that. That one that's fresh out of college, now in an environment that's not consistent with the environment that he or she grew up in, like I'm in a world I don't know. That's the one I'm gonna focus on, and others, right? But I use that as an example. That's the one I'm gonna focus on. You in hardcore urban environment. You grew up in the suburbs, and now here you are in this classroom. This is your first time being around folks from this urban environment. In case if I can apply race to it, so maybe I'm suburban, maybe I'm not black, right? Whatever that might mean. And now I'm in this urban environment. There's a whole lot of black kids in the school, right? Well, I don't know that world, right? So I may need that relationship with whomever. Doesn't mean I don't have peer mentors as well, but I want to make sure that I help you to become acclimated with this new environment that you're in, which is not what you're accustomed to, right? All of that is part of it. Because I don't want that teacher leaving me because you found out, ooh, this is not easy environment to work in. But I don't want that teacher to develop any stereotypes either of the environment that the teacher is in, right? I just want you to understand that culturally you're going to see some differences, but those differences are not necessarily negative. It just means like y'all hear me on here yelling and carrying on. This is just who I am, right? But say the next presenter might speak to you like this, might have some charts up, and all that kind of stuff, and that's not me. Whether I be on virtual or in person, it's just not me. And I ain't gonna fake the funk and try to make it me. Now, some of y'all too young to know what I just said. Just go listen to your old Parliament Funkadelic albums, and then you'll understand what I just said. Now, some of y'all, you don't know what I mean by Parliament Funkadelic, and that's my point.
What a little education after this on them. I think a few of us in the room definitely remember that. Principal Kafele, I do want to talk about one thing real quick. I know we're coming near time, but I think this is important because you're talking about having that dialogue, making sure you're connecting with your teachers. But I also know that every leader has instructional credibility blind spots. They doubt themselves instructionally. And in my career, and similar to you, I'm going on 30 years now, and I've seen this time and time again where their self-doubt creeps in and prohibits them from being the leader they can be because they're just, well, I wasn't a chemistry teacher, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. But at the end of the day, you're still the instructional leader. Can you speak to that a little bit and share how do they get past that, own
Yeah.
the fact that they are the instructional leader?
Let me tell y'all, fam, if you go into that school, particularly at the secondary level, and you've mastered all that science and all that math and all that history and all that English, then you a bad man or a bad woman, right? Because that's that's just not going. That's not real world, y'all. I mean, that genius that did that, then they probably need to be doing something else anyway, like figuring out how to make the world a better place, right? So what I'm saying to you, you're not expected to have mastered all those content areas. I've never walked into a physics, a chemistry, a biology classroom and knew content. What I did know was pedagogy. See, I understood pedagogy. I prided myself on pedagogy. Where I learned pedagogy was in the classroom teaching, right? Doesn't mean that who I was as teacher, because this is a whole other conversation, that who I was as teacher is transferable, because it's not, right? The only person that who you and I can transfer who we were as teacher is the one who's just like you, right? But the other ones, they can be great too, but the pedagogy might look different. There's a question in that book that I ask: who was I? No, let me paraphrase because I don't have the exact wording. What do I bring to a teacher beyond who I was, pedagogically speaking? See, we got to have more in our strategy bag than just what we did. Because if that teacher, and that's not just in terms of personality, but see, like who I am as a person, my politics, right? My social justice views, my historical knowledge, all that made its way into my pedagogy. I was culturally relevant in everything I did. So East Orange, New Jersey is a black city, so it allowed me to bring that particular mentality. Whereas when I was a principal in Newark and I had a 30% Latino population, I had to make some adjustments in my leadership, right? So being culturally relevant, I'm able to take the history, the culture, etc., and infuse it into the mathematics, into the science, into the social studies, into the language arts, and those kids were able to hear me better, right? Because it related to them. They saw themselves in the learning. But now I take that and now I want to make that teacher me. And that teacher doesn't have my background, my years of background in what I'm talking about, not my years of teaching, just my years of me that was now infused into my pedagogy. No, that's not going to work. So now what do you and I have that it doesn't mean I'm not going to teach my staff to be culturally relevant, but that's a different discussion. But in terms of you being able to transfer what you have to another teacher, you've got to have more in your more in terms of your skill set relative to pedagogy than what you did and were successful with. So therefore, you're not expected to be an expert in all those content areas. You'll certainly be an expert in what you taught, but what you have to be an expert in is pedagogy. But by the same token, when you go into those classrooms, learn what you can. When you read that curriculum and those guides, learn what you can. So I prided myself on that. Like I said, okay, I don't know it, but I can learn it. So I went in there, particularly with the math. If you guys knew my background, maybe some of you do, but if you knew my background, this would make more sense than it makes right now, right? So, but I'm saying I went into them classrooms and I'm working on them problems just like the kids, right? And so on the one hand, it made me that much more of an asset to the teacher, but on the other hand, it was able to make me the student and to learn things that I didn't learn in high school. So for those in the room that don't know me, I'm a 5-year high school student, right? I failed everything. All right, I'm dealing with my own issues and traumas and all that kind of stuff. So I'm dealing with all that. After the 5 years, then I spent 5 more years doing absolutely nothing. Had no dream, no goal, no ambition, no purpose, no mission, no vision. I just existed. That's it. But then I decided to go to school. I went to Kane University here in Jersey. I graduated summa cum laude. So it put a permanent chip on my shoulder because now I knew I didn't get smart. It doesn't work that way. I just had the right things happen in my life to say, you're very smart. You have a lot to offer. And then went on and wrote the 14 books, went on and got the 150 awards, went on and turned the 4 schools around, went on and spoke all over the place, all that stuff, right? And I have a permanent chip on my shoulder to say, I'm not the only one. There's a whole slew of young Principal Kafele sitting in every classroom in America, particularly urban and rural. And I'm saying, are we missing those kids? Hey, leader. I say this every day when I'm talking to leaders. I say, hey, leader, are you coaching and are you in that classroom? Because there's a young Principal Kafele, I promise you, there's a bunch of them in your school who are untapped, brilliant, amazing, phenomenal, extraordinary, but they don't know it about themselves and no one else has identified it. I was lucky, and I tell this all the time, I had a reset because my mom stood by me during the darkest of days. And to this day, she's 90. I'll be talking to her within the next 15 minutes. And she'll say to me, if I keep her on the phone for at least 15 minutes, I promise you, if I keep her on the phone for at least 15 minutes, she will revert back to when I was in high school and tell me, I still find it amazing, but I stuck by you because I saw in you what you didn't see in yourself. She will sing that song today if I let her. Right? So I'm saying to you, I had a reset. But what about all them kids that don't have a reset? My mother paid my tuition. She gave me, she said, I knew you had it, and I was going to do whatever I had to do to make sure you were successful. But what about that kid that doesn't have that? That doesn't have the opportunity for a reset. So therefore, that's why I go so hard with principals and APs to say, live in them classrooms, but live in that meeting too. So that young Principal Kafele that's sitting in your classroom, sitting in the back, daydreaming, doing nothing on the phone, whatever it is, that youngster is probably superintendent material, as I am. Superintendent material, but untapped.
Super inspirational there, Principal Kafele. And I know a lot of folks are going to be motivated by that in terms of helping kids get into those classrooms, seeing those kids, and getting them to see themselves as well and see what they can do with their potential. I also wrote down, I don't know it, but I can learn it, back to Joe's point in terms of learning on the job, learning with the teachers. And I really think it's practical to work the problems with the kids. I wish I had done that as an instructional leader, to actually sit there and do the science and do the math and do the social studies with the kids. The ELA I knew, but there was a lot of things I didn't know about the curriculum, and actually doing the work with the kids can teach you that. We're wrapping it up here, and I want to know if you have any final words, a call to action, a request of our audience.
With the folks I can see on the camera, because I know there's folks to the right and to the left that I don't see, but the ones I do see, do I have any fam in that room for Saturdays? I do. Okay, I was wondering if I was in a room of all strangers. I appreciate y'all. Those of you who are not fam, I invite you. Come on through every Saturday morning, 10:55. We're live, but if you can't make it live, then just go to YouTube, to the AP and New Principals Academy, and all the videos are there. We got a great one coming up this Saturday. It's going to be an assistant principal session, right? And I can't remember the exact name of it yet because I just put it together, but something, I think it's called Changing the Narrative of the Assistant Principalship. That's what it's called, Changing the Narrative of the Assistant Principalship. But for the folks in the room that know that are family academy, then you know I do a monologue every Saturday before we get to the actual session. Well, I can't wait to do this one. The one I'm doing this Saturday is called Principal. This monologue it will probably make you lose sleep, right? Again, Principal, this monologue will probably make you lose sleep because because I'm gonna talk about the usage of the assistant principal in that one, right? So if the principal is listening, is using the assistant principal correctly, then they'll be able to sleep fine. But if they're using the assistant principal incorrectly, they're gonna say ouch, right? So join me live, and if you can't join me live, 10:55 every Saturday on Principal Kafele, or Facebook at Principal Kafele, X at Principal Kafele, LinkedIn at Principal Kafele, or YouTube at AP and New Principals Academy. And then scroll back and check out all the ones you missed. But that would be 281, and we typically on for 2 hours. We ain't going nowhere. We got too much to talk about to do a 30-minute show. You know, as folks that tune in know, we gonna talk until we ain't got nothing else to say. So we're typically on for 2 hours or more. 2 weeks ago, we did 3 hours.
Wow. Yeah, 10:55 Saturday mornings with Principal Kafele. This is 282. And folks who are listening to the show, some of which have identified that they already go to that. Everybody else is going to rush to it Saturday mornings for 2 hours, dropping the wisdom, helping people be better leaders. We always say, grow faster with these strategies. And so it's super important. This has been fantastic. You heard it here on Focus Ed with Principal Kafele. Everyone, how about a virtual and live round of applause from our audience here?
Appreciate y'all. Appreciate you. Back at you.
Don't forget to follow the schoolhouse302.com for podcasts, blog posts, books to read, and more. We'll be back soon with another episode of Focus Ed. Until then, stay focused. Thank you, Principal Kafele. We're going to give away 10 of your books.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm honored.
Yeah. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you.
All the best.